The question about what happens to us after we die is a question that concerns all of us. And while we might ask such a question, there is no need for us to be frightened or to be obsessed with life in the future. The first reading and the gospel give us a response about what happens to us after we die. In the reading from the book of Maccabees, which is the first reading for today, there are 7 brothers who are arrested along with their mother. And the reason why they are arrested is because they will not do something that is unlawful. They will follow the law, they will be righteous, they will be true to what they believe, and they will stand for that truth. Because this is their stand, the king says to them that they are to be killed. The brothers and their mother are quite calm with this decision of the king because they are firm that anyone who stands for the truth is assured a place in God's kingdom. They are sure that God has prepared a place for anyone who is true to him or herself and is willing to pay the price when he or she stands for the truth. In the gospel text of today, the group of Jews who did not believe in the resurrection, the Sadducees, come to Jesus and they try to make belief in the resurrection absurd. They say to Jesus, there was a man who married a woman and the man died, leaving the woman childless. Now, according to the law, the man's brother ought to take the widow of his brother as his wife, which he did. But he also died, leaving the widow childless for the second time. And then the third brother took her, and the fourth brother took her, and the seventh brother took her, and all 7 did not leave children for her. The 7 died, and the woman also died, and the question of the Sadducees is, whose wife will she be in the resurrection? Because all 7 had her as wife. They want to indicate that belief in the resurrection is absurd through this question, through this intervention, through this instance. Jesus responds on 2 levels. And the first level is that when a person dies, the state of life is changed. When a seed is sown into the ground, the seed has its own properties. However, when the seed is sown into the ground and comes up as a tree, it is quite different from the seed. No one will be able to recognize the seed in that tree or what the seed was before it became a tree. And this is the same thing which happens with us when we are raised from the dead. In the new life, in the life in God's kingdom, there is no being married and being given in marriage. And so, the question about whose wife she will be in the resurrection does not arise because each individual will be able to see the face of God and will be content only with that grace which God gives. The second example which Jesus gives is this, that the God whom we believe in is not a God of the past. The God whom we believe in is not a God of the future. When God reveals himself to the people, he reveals himself as a God of the living and not a God of the dead. He reveals himself as a God of the now, not as a God of the past or of the future. And that is why the name of God is ego eimi. Ego eimi are two Greek words which when translated into English are I am. God is not I was. God is not I will be. God is I am. God is present. God is now. And so therefore, even though these are questions that might arise in our mind, and sometimes we might get frightened, there is no reason and there is no need for fear if we are true to ourselves like the Maccabee brothers and their mother was, and if we are willing to stand up for the truth at any moment in our lives, if we are willing to accept responsibility for our actions, not only have we matured and grown up, but we are also ensured that God is on our side. It is not easy to live in the present because the larger majority of us are either regretting the past or are obsessed with the future. While we might learn from the past so that we do not repeat the mistakes that we may have made, and while we might plan for the future which may be required, what is not called for is regretting or obsessing. And therefore, even as we reflect on the texts, let us remember this, that it is our present which determines our future. It is how we act now which will be determined later. And so, there is no reason whatever for us to focus on the future or on the later, but to focus on the now. If I act in the present, and if I am true to myself in the present, if I do what I am meant to do in the present moment, the future will take care of itself. There is a beautiful song which says, I know not what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. And because a loving God, a generous God, a forgiving God, a merciful God revealed in Jesus holds my future, there is no need for me to be frightened. There is no need for me to be anxious or worried. There is only the need for me to live in the now. Is your God a God of the past? Is your God a God of the future? Or is your God a God of the now? Is your God only a God in the heavens? Or is your God like the God of Jesus, Emmanuel, which means God is with us? Let us take then the readings to heart and learn from the Maccabee brothers that we will stand up for what we believe in. We will stand up for the truth no matter how difficult it might be, no matter what the consequences might be. That we will live only in the now, that we will live in the present, confident that our future is in the hands of a loving and forgiving God.